I didn't sleep great last night. Um, the horses raced better. We had a terrible start to the week. The horses raced better yesterday. We'll talk about them, but I want to talk about some of the other stuff that's going on with the stable. I feel that I put a lot of pressure on myself to move the horses at the right time, and I don't have to explain any of this to any of you, but I will anyway, because there's always that one person that always has questions. I know you're really busy, Mr. McDonald, but what about this? Or, hey, Anthony, I know that you're away, but there's always people that don't know, and that's not their fault. Our system that we've always been pushing towards and pushing forward is simple. We either buy horses as yearlings or on the open market, on gate preferred, what have you, or privately, and we want to have those horses race as good as they can in the classes. Now, obviously, best case scenario is they do really, really good for quite a while. A horse like All Gas, No Brakes. A couple of times we bought him and did very, very good with him. And then you get a horse like Casanova Hall that we appeared to do well with, but not really, financially speaking. We bought him at a time when the Constellation was in our mind, right? The Pennsylvania Constellation. He looked like a competitor in it. Unfortunately, it took us a little while to get him going, and then he had that broken equipment in the Constellation itself. And then went on a tear. But that original price was always inflated, as it appeared. We bought him to be, as I said yesterday, a kind of a watered-down version of Pickpocket, which I guess he was. But we ended up fitting him into that condition claimer at Northfield really, really well. But once he got out of that class, now you have to be better. He's got that quarter crack that's bothering him. It just seemed we have horses for that class that they got rid of. So here's the problem. I'm trying to walk a tightrope where we move horses out where horses were coming in. We qualified Memory and Imagination, Irresistible Sun. I thought one would do in Ohio, one in Pennsylvania. The class in Pennsylvania wasn't filling. That's no problem. We can move this horse over to the class where Drebin was racing in Ontario. Then they get rid of the class in Ontario. We go to put the horses in the sale, and the sale was just flat. It just was. It's not a seller's market right now, by any stretch of the imagination. But that leaves us in a tight spot because we have too many horses for some classes. Remember, I was trying to move them out as we brought them back in. Now they're all just stuck in the middle, right? We have 4 or 5 horses that fit 2 classes or 3 classes. And not only just fit, right? You have to fit them good or they don't really fit them at all. And it's bothered me. It's been bothering me for a couple of days now. We have an opportunity to sell Ready for Landing. Kind of roughly where I thought he'd go for in the sale. But he's got 6 wins. 7 would be Northfield, where we're not going to race him at Northfield, but that would be the Watermark at Northfield. 10 would be Miami Valley, but it's a shark tank down there right now. It's tough. Now, I spent all last night talking to somebody who's ended up being a close friend of mine, and Johnny, and super analytical guy like Greg, Steve, all these guys that, we kind of walk in lockstep. But sometimes I veer off the path, right? I miss the forest for the trees sometimes, and I rely on these guys to point it out. So I'm always left trying to do the right thing, and no matter which way I go, somebody takes exception to it, right? And that's part of the job. It's not the end of the world. Listen, a lot of the criticism I get, I earn, right? I've made a mistake. I zigged when I should have zagged. But every time I do anything, I try my best to do what's best for everybody, and I tell you guys all the time, I do this by looking at it from your point of view. Also my point of view. If this horse was mine, what would you do? At least then, I know I've tried to do the right thing. So I don't know what I'm going to do with Ready for Landing. We had people asking about Patrick de Piranha also. A buyer's price, not a seller's price. That one's a little trickier. And in one side it is, in one side it isn't. He's an older horse now. We know what he can do. We know what he used to be. We know what he is right now. It would be nice to get him closer to the first than the latter. So it's a tricky time of year. It's just a frustrating time of year. And these don't help at all, really. So I'm going to do my best moving forward to alleviate this. For those of you waiting for us to acquire horses, please be patient. We need to buy the right horses. I just don't need to buy a horse. It needs to be the right one. And they'll come. You know, there was dry parts throughout last spring, and then I think at one point in a week we bought like 7 horses. They will pop up. I'm a little surprised they haven't already, so I was wrong in that regard, but they will pop up. So for those of you out there, maybe a little frustrated, whether it be Casanova Hall or whether it be me talking about Ready for Landing or Patrick de Piranha or the sales that we made in the past or the 2-year-old we sold the other day, shoot me an email. I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one. I enjoy talking to all our clients, showing you where I'm coming from and understanding where you're coming from. So for Johnny, thank you for the messages last night. I appreciate it. For everybody else sending emails, they don't go unnoticed. I can tell you that. So let's talk about yesterday, quick. I'm not a big beach guy. Everybody wanted to go to the beach. They want to spend 3 hours there. I'll spend an hour there. Not a big beach guy. Sit in the shade, take in the heat. That's more me. That's my speed. But I am going to go down to the beach in a minute. Get covered in sand. Play in the ocean. It does beat. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep bringing it up. It does beat freezing right now. And this is a cold, cold week, both in Ontario and Ohio. Everybody I talked to said it's freezing where they are at. So in that regard, I guess I'm luckier for today. So let's talk about yesterday. Irresistible Sun. I told you guys last week. It's funny, the exact same 2 horses get in the exact same spot, and I get in the, or Aaron get in the spot where I kind of wanted to be last week. Now you got to remember one thing. You can't just... Irresistible Sun's finicky. A lot of horses are. He was in a great spot. He moved him at the right time. But he let him hang out in the last turn thinking he would sprint away down the lane. Remember, I always tell you, Irresistible Sun's a good horse, but he never, maybe once or twice, but rarely throws at 27 seconds at you. He should have come 100. And it's just because he doesn't know the horse. Not me critiquing Aaron Strive. He drove the horse perfect. In fact, he drove every horse very good yesterday. We'll get to the other horse in a minute. So Irresistible Sun, he attacked in the right spot, but hung out. Thought that Ronnie was a wounded soldier, was going to rest a little bit, drive on down the lane. But that's just not quite Irresistible Sun. He attacks hard and mostly clears him, gets to the front down the lane. I think Jeremy probably still runs him down, but he might have been second. And he might have been a winner, or he might have been third. But it's funny, the way the race went was exactly how I told you it would go had I got away third last week. Bigger field, a little more pressure on the front end, and Irresistible Sun's good. Now, I believe Memory and Imagination should go over there. He's raced way up in those gatekeeper classes in Northfield. Somebody said, well, they went in like 58. It's not the same. You're right, it's not the same. The class Memory and Imagination is racing in is far tougher than the one that Irresistible Sun was in. You might see those names say, oh, that horse, those horses were good horses, many of them. It's hard. It is very, very hard for a fresh 4-year-old. What I mean is a horse who just turned 4 to race against those aged horses' ranks. They're tough. Memory and Imagination needs to be where Sonny was. Sonny needs to go down and race in the condition claimer at Miami Valley or the straight numbers of 6. I don't care. One or the other. So those two can move there. You see the problem? We're talking about races now for all the horses. That class being canceled in Ontario kind of screwed us over. Plus, we didn't sell Ready for Landing. We didn't sell Drebin. So rather than just saying we get 2 horses for 2 classes, everything's perfect. No. We got 4 horses. Well, 3 horses for 2 classes. Anyway, Sunny raced good. But I think if you go back and look at last week's video, exactly what I told you would happen is exactly what took place with Irresistible Sun. Raced good. No complaints. Very happy with the way he raced. He just isn't. He's not that horse, right? He's just not that first over, grind up and win the race type. Especially when he's dealing with two horses that are good. Both those horses are. Happy Chopper made 120 last year, winning 53 as a 3-year-old stake filly, right? And the other horse I'm not familiar with, but clearly a nice horse. You know, I stuffed him in the 3-hole last week, and he still beat me for second. Good horse. Looks like Money raced good. I knew there was nothing Aaron could do. The favorite gets away in the front, you get away fourth. You're in a first over grind situation. Looks like Money is racing better. Now, this is twice we moved him in the last turn. James said even at Mohawk, he won't advance in the last turn. He hangs out. He's advancing now. He's changing his game. We have a closed bridle on him. If I think I can get to the front with him next time, Hunter's horse or not, we'll put an open bridle on him. You're going to find a little sparkier, looks like Money his next start. If I can get him to the front or get him real close, get him in a spot where he doesn't have to allow somebody to get everything their own way. If either he's the one getting everything his own way, or following a horse that maybe is a little more vulnerable than Hunter's horse, I think we'll be headed to the winner's circle or close. But listen, the horse is racing good. Take nothing away from him. He's got to win in 2 seconds, I think. His last two. Win a second and third, I'm not sure. But he's been racing great. Spitfire Overseas, I had another conversation with Pete yesterday. I get it. You know, people see the race and they boil over. You don't think I boiled over? It happens, right? It's human nature. And I messaged Stacy after. I gave myself about 10 minutes, right? I didn't want it to look like it was a knee-jerk reaction anyway. And it wasn't. I just said to Stacy, we're going to send... if we only have an open horse to race down there, we'll send Looks Like Money down there. Or Irresistible Sun. Or Memory and Imagination. I know some people that said Drebin. Drebin's not leaving Ontario, I don't think. It's a good spot for him to be right now. But we'll swap those horses out. We'll bring Spitfire back up to the Meadows. And I said to Stacy, you know, she gets down herself, same as everybody would. I'm sure Harry was mad when Looks Like Money left. Jason would be mad when any other horse left. It's just human nature. But it's not a dig on any of our trainers. I fully support all our trainers. Problem is that horses become a little complacent sometimes, right? You saw what happened when Spitfire went to the Meadows. Now, in fairness, he was in a little softer, but we made him do his work, right? He got at it. Yesterday, he did look rough. And then finally, he rolled off down the backstretch. Might be a little hole there. Again, fresh set of eyes never hurts, right? You get knowing a horse, and you're like, well, I know the horses, but horses are athletes. Little things come up from time to time that maybe you didn't know about. Happens all the time with us too, right? We talk about forest for the trees. I don't think there's anything wrong with Spitfire. Just a little complacent, right? Just needs to be nudged back in the right direction. And I think a little change of scenery for him isn't going to hurt. So I think what you'll likely see next week, if I'm to guess, Irresistible Sun will race in Miami Valley. Memory and Imagination will race at the Meadows. Looks Like Money and Spitfire will race at the Meadows. Then Looks Like Money will likely head down to Southern Ohio. Spitfire will, if everything goes the way I assume it will, and then Spitfire will head to the open backup class and they kind of combine at the Meadows, and we'll race him there. And that's the plan for him. And then Vehement, one of the most interesting races. You can't get away from the gate good, right? He'll eventually do that. And I know this because if you go back and look at his qualifier at the Meadows, from post 9, I crossed right over in front of him. Different shoeing, different climate, different track. What you see is a horse that's a combination of two things. I think he's going to need to be pushed a little bit. He's getting to a place now where he's becoming a little more comfortable, right? Doesn't show any breaks. You'd never know that he spent most of his childhood on the run, at least to chart lines. So I see Aaron get away 7th. He's on the move really early. I'm like, that's a ballsy move. I like it. I never saw it coming. I like it. He cleared to the front. Halfway down the backstretch, I didn't like it anymore. Nope, wasn't a fan. Luke Ebersol's horse, Jason and I text briefly after the race. He said, on paper, it looked like Luke's horse was tons the best. He said, so what are you going to do? To me, it looked like Vehement was going to be 5th, 6th, 7th, getting into the last turn. Instead, he fought on to be 2nd. I'll use the word fought loosely because he was a well-beaten 2nd. But he could have been a well-beaten 7th also. So I'm a little disappointed. I don't think we need to change a whole lot with him. The way I saw him fall off the gate last night was more of the complacency we talk about, right? A little more comfortable. He didn't push out of the gate. He's been allowed to fall off the gate, so he did again. One of these days, he's not going to be allowed to do that anymore. And I think he'll take it just fine. I can't say I loved Aaron's drive at the quarter pole and complained about it down the backstretch. I thought it was a hell of a move. He just didn't fight enough. But there is a very raw piece of clay there that we're working with. I have no idea how good he is. Maybe he's a 59 trotter. I have no idea. But he's not going to hurt us. Not like he hurt the first people. I would assume at some point, if we keep him moving forward, he'll be able to draw on that back class, that $325,000 yearling that he was. Imagine. It's a tough one. We didn't pay that for him. We paid, I think, 17 for him or something. So he's doing just fine for us. But we just need to have him come to life. I think he will. So I wanted to give you guys a video. I had a couple of minutes to say those guys headed down to the beach. I just want to be left alone. And it allows me to get a lot of the stuff off my chest. I'm looking at who's coming up this week. We get International Man today. We'll see how Aaron drives him today. His blood work, we had to work on his liver, mildly elevated, but there wasn't a whole lot there. Aaron blamed himself. Maybe he's right. We'll see how he compensates today, because he is picked to win. And Mister's way down in class. He's picked to win. Tomorrow we get Never Lose Felix, and Elmer's at 2. He is 3-1. It's a good spot for him. What a surprise he's been. I'd like to have a few more of those this spring, right? We get let down by a couple of horses, mildly let down. We didn't know if they were any good. They turned out they weren't. It wasn't a shocking development. Never Lose Felix was. So I want to see a couple more Felixes come out, right? I think we got a couple schooling and qualifying tomorrow. I don't know if they're qualifying yet. Schooling, yes. We got a lot of horses getting ready to go, right? Troy South had to work to get, what a chore it was to get this DNA day. I don't know if they got him into qualify or not. He's officially in Standardbred Canada now, so he's available to qualify. Hopefully he's in. If he's not, he'll school again. He'll school once more and qualify once instead of twice. But he's ready to go. Neptune. I don't know if Harry's... I don't see him in to go, so he must be putting him in to qualify again. And then we got Foxy Seaside. She could be the Never Lose Felix on the pacing side. She's got a lot to prove, but man, great reports out of Ontario about this filly training down. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, so you know as much as I do. I'm just telling, and take it with a grain of salt, because Dominic makes me look pessimistic. Super optimistic guy. We have a number of 3, 4, 5 getting ready. It's an exciting time of year, but this gap, especially with the way things have gone on, just crushed me the last 3 weeks. I'm actually glad that I am here. It's been a tough week. The sale started it off, then not in reflection, not getting our horses that we wanted. It's been a tough start to 2025 for me. But it's a long year, right? It's a long year. Saturday we have Betcha is in. This will likely be her last start for a while for us. Just giving her a little time. Mounts for All is in to go also. What's his odds? 8-1, getting closer. James must have... Oh, James has gone away Saturday, right? Admiral Dio Saturday night. I told Dominic if he needed me to go drive Drebin, I could. Admiral Dio, Travis Cullen, 4-1, good. And then Monday I told him I could go drive Drebin if he needed to. Long day for me, get off the plane Sunday at 10 o'clock, drive all the way back to Ohio with the kids. They have to go to school Monday. A long day for them. And then I would go back if he needed me to drive Drebin. Before that, we have Rock Shining Star. What day is this? Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Rock Shining Star, JK Victory, Save America, Greatest Ending, and Drabbin. So we have lots going on. Not nearly as much as I would have hoped right now, but still lots going on, lots to do. And I'll endeavor to keep doing it. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you're having a wonderful week. I know it's cold in most places, but it is in January. I'll be back in 3 days. Who would have thought? Excited to get back to the winter and get going. But it is a nice break. It's certainly nice for the kids, but a nice break. Nice to get away with my family, see all of our cousins. What I mean is Mark is here. His kids are here. Curtis and his kids are here. Other friends are here. It's been a good week in that regard. And I hope it's been a good week for you. So I'll talk to you all very soon. Have a wonderful Thursday, wherever you are, whatever the temperature might be. I'll talk to you all soon.